afternoon, my friends. Brandon Steckler, technical editor of Motor Age magazine, and I'm here with you today to discuss leveraging some of the game-changing features on the tools we have available to us today. And today I've got a treat for you. I'm going to be using the Matco MAXPRO. And I find this tool to be extremely beneficial in my limited experience with it because of how versatile it is, how easy it is to use, but most importantly, it allows me to stay accurate but efficient as well. So having the right tool for the job is one thing. Having a more capable tool, now that's where efficiency comes into play. So the Matco MAXPRO is a multi-tool platform, meaning it can be configured to include battery testers, lab scopes, and such. But the scan tool, even standalone, is tremendously beneficial. There's a list of 15 plus features that I have yet to see all in one scan tool in the 30 years I've been working on cars professionally. Boasted in this list of creature comforts and unique capabilities is a high-resolution display IP65 Android tablet, which is impervious to dust, easy to see in sunlight, and water-resistant as well. So you can take it out in the rain without any problems on those nasty days when we got to run from the shop to the car. We're going to be using the Matco MAXPRO on a real-life diagnostic situation pertaining to a 2025 Chevy Malibu with the ABS wheel speed sensor fault. We're going to leverage several of the scan tool's unique features to streamline the process from initial analysis and reception and customer interrogation to diagnosis, data capture, and even research and service information analysis right from the driver's seat. The scan tool has the ability to constantly record, so it's not something we have to think about. We can simply get in the vehicle, drive it, and know that the data is being captured as we drive the vehicle. But other than the cool fact that we can leverage information from multiple modules simultaneously, we can graph up to 8 different color-coded PIDs simultaneously and even merge them into a single graph. But one of my favorite features of all on this scan tool is the min-max feature. We have the ability to place audible thresholds. Yes, audible thresholds on the scan tool for any PID we choose. And when we choose that threshold and that threshold is crossed either on the max side or on the minimum side, an audible alarm will sound telling us as we drive the vehicle that the fault is present here and now, saving us a ton of time in wasted drivability and diagnostic road tests. Leveraging the power of the Matco MAXPRO, we begin with a simple DTC scan of all modules simultaneously. And what that will allow us to do is to start a recorded pre-scan, otherwise known as a high-speed health report that can be saved to the tool, uploaded to the cloud, and even emailed to myself, to the shop's database, or our customers and insurance companies. This will capture all the codes in all the nodes on all the networks interlaced throughout the entire vehicle, all in one easy to access and send location, all in PDF format. Whether the DTCs are pertaining to the symptom the customer is concerned about or not, all the DTCs will be present, leading to you presenting them to the customer and opening up the opportunity for additional upsells or further diagnosis to address problems unrelated to the symptom currently being experienced. This serves as a tremendous benefit sometimes, preventing the customer from investing money only to find out later that there are other underlying problems, making you look like the hero. Right from the driver's seat, we can leverage service information, and that's with Maximus Fix. This feature connects seamlessly to the internet, as long as the tool is configured, to leverage information powered by Motor. Information pertaining to the DTC, thresholds that need to be crossed for the DTC to store, and even wiring diagrams, component locators like connectors, and terminal pinouts, wire colors and such, so we can start to develop a strategy on where and when to start attacking that vehicle's problem. Then we can move on to multi-module display, where we can graph up to 8 PIDs simultaneously in different colors and even merge them. We can gather information, not one, not two, but from multiple modules, different nodes on several networks simultaneously, almost in real time. This gives us the capability of gathering information all in one fell swoop, like fishing with a net instead of a hook, saving us time and energy from repeated road tests looking at information from different aspects. Now we can capture it all simultaneously. And a very convenient feature, especially for someone like me who sometimes forgets to record data, is the automatic record feature. Simply drive the vehicle. The data is being captured at all times, free and stored in the buffer. But my absolute favorite feature of all is the min-max feature we referenced earlier, where we can set thresholds, both minimum and maximum thresholds that need to be crossed. And if those thresholds are crossed, whether we go above the maximum or below the minimum, an audible sound is going to be heard coming out of the scan tool itself, indicating to us when a fault is present, so we don't spend more time road testing than we need to. How's that for efficiency? I'm all about it. And never mind the safety aspect of it. I know we all do it. Road test the vehicle and simultaneously look at data. If you think texting is dangerous, try monitoring information from several inputs simultaneously while operating a vehicle. It's a dangerous combination, my friends. And following through a repair and a recapture of data is something I always recommend. And this is where our post-scan health report comes into play. Just like the pre-scan, we can monitor the same information, proving the car was fixed. And it allows us to perform a comparison, a side-by-side of before and after, saved in PDF format to send to our customers, proving the problem's been repaired. And if your shop is equipped with Matco Shop Management Solutions, this information can all be integrated there seamlessly. So as promised, we're here inside this 25 Chevy Malibu, and the customer's complaint is that intermittently when they're driving the vehicle, the dashboard lights up like a Christmas tree. And they get some dings and bells and whistles that go off. And on occasion, they pull over and they can't accelerate again. We know how vehicles operate today. The input to the accelerator pedal is nothing more than just that. It's not a demand to open the throttle. It's a request. And if the ECM isn't happy with what's going on, if it's not safe to open up that throttle, it's not going to do it. So I'm approaching this vehicle with the mindset that what the customer is experiencing as far as the symptom goes, not accelerating, is simply a result of the underlying fault. We're going to leverage our Matco MAXPRO, and I'm going to show you some of the features that I think are really, really cool on this tool. And, you know, it's not about needing a tool, the latest and greatest, the next best tool. It's about efficiency. And I'll bet money most of you can fix cars. It's not about can you do it. It's can we do it faster? Can we capitalize on a tool that's going to allow us to earn our return on investment more efficiently? And that's what I'm all about. Not necessarily only about fixing cars right. Right? Accuracy is a must to maintain our professionalism. But if we can't be efficient while doing it, it's not a good way to go about making a living. So let's take a look at this Matco MAXPRO and see just what it can do for us. So I know this video probably doesn't do it any justice, but I'm telling you, I'm sitting in this car in the sunlight, and this display is amazing. I mean, I can turn this sideways, up and down, and take my eyes off direct line of sight, and there's still no glare, which I love. Because most of our time is spent driving cars and looking at this stuff. It becomes tremendously difficult to see the screen sometimes. But we're going to press here to connect, and I'm already got my scan tool configured to my Wi-Fi connection, and I'm right here outside in my driveway, about 100 feet from my router. So we're going to go into diagnostics and see what's going on, and it already self-identified the vehicle just in several seconds. Now, right from the get-go, we get system topology, which is great because it shows us all the nodes on all the available networks, and they're neatly color-coded. Anything that operates on CAN is colored here in red and found at terminals 6 and 14. And that's exactly what this data indicates to us here. It shows us medium speed CAN at 3 and 11. We can find that node. And on some of the other networks, the other nodes are listed and color-coded as well. But let's do this. Let's do a system scan. And as we can see, there are multiple nodes here with DTC stored on a couple of different networks, on 3 different networks. What we're going to do is form a report. This will create a PDF for me indicating pre-scan. Now, I can do things like take pictures For instance, I'm going to create a photo. I'll just put my hand here and take a picture. I'll simply attach that photo to the PDF. And I can share this report with myself via email. Report is sent, and I'm done. Didn't even interrupt my process. I'm right here still in the driver's seat, ready to rock and roll. So now I have a pre-scan of the vehicle of all the faults that are stored. And now we can go about our business. So let's take a look at some of these DTCs. Active Safety Control Module. Basically, it's showing us system has been disabled. Lost communications with electronic brake control module, but it's got a subcode here, 71, indicating that loss of communication is invalid data. Our brake system control module shows us that our left rear wheel speed sensor circuit has passed and failed. And everything else is pertaining to the brake system itself. So let's go take a look at some data now. And we can look at some freeze frame data to see when the fault occurred. We're going to look at information pertaining to this left rear wheel speed sensor circuit. And we've got 2 pages of data here. So as the vehicle sat still at 0 miles an hour, the left rear wheel speed sensor went to about 19 miles an hour. When the right front, the right rear, and the left front all indicated 0. So what we can do now is back out and look at some live data. And what I really, really like about this data stream, it allows us to view this information in a graphical format if we choose to do so. We can build a customized PID list to increase the baud rate or the scan tool communication speed. That does a couple of things for us. It eliminates the need to stare at a ton of vehicle data and only stare at what it is we are interested in. So what I'd like to do is I would like to graph out the left rear wheel speed sensor, the right rear wheel speed sensor, the left front wheel speed sensor, and the right front wheel speed sensor. And if I hit OK, it will show us the data in numerical value, but also give us the ability, if we choose to do so, to plot graphs. I can view this information in English measurements here, in other words, miles per hour, or metric in kilometers per hour. But I'm going to leave it in English. And I'm going to click on graphs here. Now, what I did is, as I graph this, I get 4 individual graphs, each in different colors. And as we drive the vehicle, we should be able to see the information plot. So we're going to road test the vehicle and get a look at the information. So we're going to drive this vehicle, and hopefully we can reproduce the problem. As the driver told me, it's pretty elusive. And after speaking with the driver and reviewing the freeze frame data that we just looked at, the information is kind of contradictory. The freeze frame data appeared to be exhibiting the fault when the vehicle was standing still. In other words, 3 wheel speed sensors indicated 0 miles an hour, where one showed nearly 20 miles an hour. But according to the customer, the fault only happens after he's driving for a while, and typically on bumpy roads. Now, I'm on a back road here, and it's a bit bumpy, and I had spoken with the driver and asked him if this road was sufficient to reproduce the fault, and this is the exact road that he experienced the fault on. But so far, we are not seeing the problem. So far, no problem found. Now, the good news is I'm graphing the data out. But as I drive the vehicle, we know to set a DTC, a threshold has to be crossed. Meaning a fault might be present and we might be experiencing a symptom, be it an ABS event or a warning light or audible chime sounding or a message on the display saying that there's a fault. But it may not necessarily set a DTC. Who knows? So to drive the vehicle and drive the vehicle and drive the vehicle, trying to reproduce the fault is one thing. Are we going to capture the fault? Or did the fault occur and we didn't even see it? Who knows? But there's some really cool features about this tool, like we discussed earlier, that I'm going to demonstrate. Now, back out at the main topological display we see here, we have a couple of other options available to us on this Matco MAXPRO. And one that's really cool I want to talk about is a multi-system data stream. I can capture information from multiple modules simultaneously. As you can see here, once it's populated the screen with all the available nodes, they're here on the left-hand pane. Now, currently we are sitting in the body control system, and these are all the available data PIDs through the body control system. Once I select the ones I want, they'll populate the right-hand pane here. So I'm going to give you, for instance, we are going to go into the brake system, and I want to look at the wheel speed sensors, as we did before. So first I'm going to choose the left front wheel speed sensor, and then the left rear wheel speed sensor. And then we'll go to the right side. We want the right front wheel speed sensor and the right rear wheel speed sensor. And as I've chosen them, they've all populated. All 4 wheel speed sensor signals are on the right-hand pane in the combination pane. But now I'm going to go over here and do something different. I'm going to go into engine control module, and just for grins, because it's pertinent, I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. Look at the hundreds and hundreds of PIDs available to us. And I'm going to go to vehicle speed. And once I've chosen vehicle speed, that too has populated our combination pane. So when I hit OK, all that information is available to us just as it was before when we were in a single node, as you can typically do with your average scan tool. But this MAXPRO is different. It allows us to look at information from more than one module at the same time. Very similar to the Toyota TechStream. That is the one OE scan tool that I was really in love with that feature. And just like before, I can graph that information out. Now, as you can see, when we drive this vehicle, just as we did before, you are going to see information pertaining to not only all 4 wheel speed sensors, but also the vehicle speed sensor in a totally different ECU. So I'm looking at data from not only the ABS control unit, traction control unit, but also the ECM simultaneously. And as you could see, the update refresh rate of this data is nothing to shake a stick at. It's really, really flying. Seemingly just as fast as if we were looking at information from a single node. So we're on a rough and bumpy road, and I'm trying to simulate. One time, actually, over a bump coming up soon, I was able to reproduce the problem. See if it happens again. There's the bump. So I've been driving the vehicle, trying to simulate the fault, and I was able to reproduce the fault twice now, going over a pretty rough road. And I was able to get the car to sway a bit back and forth, and that is when I reproduced the fault. So hitting large bumps rapidly didn't do much, but rolling over a bump at a slower rate of speed that allowed the body of the vehicle to react, one that would get you to sway a little bit in your seat, I was able to reproduce the fault. But I want to show you a really, really cool feature known as min-max. And what min-max is going to allow me to do is monitor the same fault. In other words, look at the graph data that I saw drop out. But rather than keeping my eyes on the screen, we graph the information so it's stored in a buffer and we can review it later. The problem is, if you go on a road test and you don't realize you've reproduced the fault, you can get all the way back to the shop, review all the data you want, and may not see anything. And that's where the min-max function comes from the Matco MAXPRO. I'm able to set an upper and lower threshold for any PID I'm choosing to view. In this case, the left rear wheel speed sensor signal. In the previous fault captured, I noticed that the wheel speed sensor signal, when the fault occurred, went to nearly 20 miles per hour. So I'm going to set my threshold at about 15 miles an hour. And when my upper threshold is reached, I'm going to hear an audible indicator stating that the problem is here. This way I know the fault's been captured. I can go back and review the data and stop road testing the vehicle, stop wasting time driving the vehicle. So I can go back here and customize my PID list once again. So I'm going to go in there, and I know my left rear wheel speed sensor is the problem. So I'm going to turn off all the data for the other available sensor signals that I have selected in my customized PID list. And now that I'm here, what I'm going to do is customize it one more time. And I'm simply going to choose the min-max function here on the lower right-hand side. And I'm going to choose an upper threshold of, let's say, 15 miles an hour and a lower threshold of 0. And what that means is if I drop below 0 miles an hour, which is impossible, the alarm is going to sound. But if I go above 15 miles an hour, the alarm is going to sound as well. Not only is it going to be showing me the PID in graphical format, it's going to be monitoring for that threshold. And when I drive the vehicle, let me show you, I'm going to deliberately go over 15 miles an hour and listen. Watch as we cross that threshold. Here we go. So let's drive the vehicle now. And what we simply have to do is listen. So now that we've got our min-max threshold set up to give us an audible indicator when the fault is present, we can simply drive the vehicle and continue to gather information in our scan tool buffer just as we did before. But the MAXPRO from Matco gives us the opportunity to have a step up above everybody else. I can simply drive the vehicle and know when the fault is captured in my data buffer because I will simply listen for the sound. So all we're going to do is drive the vehicle normally, and when the fault is present, when I hit a bump, if the fault occurs, I will know the data is captured in the scan tool because we will hear it. Let's go for a ride. There's the bump. Let's do it again. Here comes a bump. Well, the fault's captured. Let's go back and analyze the data. And there it is, right there. We can see the dropout. So as you can see from that road test and setting the min-max function on the Matco MAXPRO, we were able to get an audible indicator of when the fault was present. And that's important because capturing data in a scan tool buffer, we've been doing that for years, and that's exactly what we need to do as diagnosticians. But how many times have you road tested a vehicle and were unable to reproduce the fault knowingly, and you get back to the shop and you review the data from your time invested on your road test and the fault simply isn't there? Now we have an audible indicator to let us know the fault was indeed captured. This way, when we head back to the shop and analyze the data, we know it's not all for naught. So let's leverage the true power of a Wi-Fi connected scan tool, like the MAXPRO. If we go back out and read the fault code that we have set here, this C050F, subcode 00 pertains to the left rear wheel speed sensor circuit. Let's visit Maximus Fix and take us to an online database of information pertaining to that failure. Powered by motor, we have information at our fingertips right from the driver's seat of the vehicle without having to go back into the shop and reference our PC. We can simply click on diagnostic trouble codes and find our C050F, and that pertains to the left rear wheel speed sensor circuit high. Clicking on that, we get a descriptor showing what that code means, circuit high input. And if we reference the diagnostic fault information, C050F pertaining to the left rear wheel speed sensor has a failure only indicative of a short to voltage. And following through with the wiring diagrams, we can go to ABS, the wheel speed sensors. It brings us right to service information. This is our circuit here. We've got our brake system control module, our two circuits pertaining to our left rear wheel speed sensor, and also X408. We can then go to our component locator, connector and views, inline harness connector, go to X408, and it shows us the connector. And it also shows us the terminals. 2 and 3, gray and black and blue, pertaining to our wheel speed sensors. This information is tremendously beneficial for streamlining your diagnostic approach. Again, right from the driver's seat. We found the DTC definition basically stating that the circuit is shorted to voltage. We found the component locator. We also found an inline connector X408, which gives me an idea on where to test the circuit, pretty much splitting it in half between the control module and the wheel speed sensor output, determining is my problem this way or this way. So having this information in your hands all at one time allows you to eliminate the need to test everything from the front to the back, from the top to the bottom, and only focusing on the potential locations of the fault that are truly possible. The Matco MAXPRO really does streamline the diagnostic process. It's a pleasure to use, honestly. So as I've been preaching all along for years now, having the right tool for the job is imperative to do our job right, accurately the first time. But having the better tool for the job, that's just a tremendous bonus for time saving efficiency. Having all the capabilities in your hand in one location right from the driver's seat saves so much time and energy. Access to service information, wiring diagrams, information pertaining to the DTCs to allow you to determine where you would like to begin your troubleshooting process. More importantly, eliminate areas that you don't need to spend time testing on. Audible alerts that point to the fault so you don't have hours and hours of wasted time road testing a vehicle for no reason. Letting the data come to you instead of you having to find it. Viewing information in graphical format in multiple colors is very easy on the eyes and streamlines the diagnostic process. And being able to prove to your customer that the car is indeed fixed instills confidence in them, making them more likely to come back to you as their automotive professional. So having the better tool for the job like the Matco MAXPRO saves time, increases accuracy, and boosts confidence, not only in the technicians and the service advisors, but in the customers as well. And that's where it really counts in business. I'm Brandon Steckler, Techno-Editor, Motor Age Magazine, and I thank you for joining me on the review of this Matco MAXPRO. Overall, I think the tool has some tremendous capabilities. It's reliable, it's fast, it's convenient, and it's definitely a time saver.